Yo, what up, friends?
MLB, rest in peace to Pete Rose. We're going to talk Pete Rose and his candidacy for the Hall of Fame. The hit king from baseball actually recently passed away at age 83. He was a 17-time All-Star. He was the league's all-time hitter with 4,256 hits over a 24-season career. But he was banned for gambling. He bet on his own team while he was the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. He bet on his own team, which is illegal in pretty much every sport, but especially Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball then, the Hall of Fame, which is its own separate entity, but, they work hand in hand, made it ineligible for anyone on the MLB's banned list to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose was then never inducted to the Hall of Fame. Well, when you have the person who has the most hits ever in your league not inducted to the Hall of Fame, that brings a little bit of a side eye. You know what I mean? Little side eye action to what you're actually doing. So let's dive in a little further into this and see if Pete Rose actually deserves or deserves not to be in the Hall of Fame. Baseball's Hall of Fame's mission statement includes this. I quote, "To preserve the sport's history, honor excellence within the game, and make a connection between generations of people who enjoy baseball." Well, we know that the steroid era, for instance, was one of the most fun eras to watch in baseball. Obviously tainted with the use of performance-enhancing drugs, the likes of the godfather of steroids, my favorite baseball player of all time, Jose Canseco. So I know this subject very intimately. Shout out, Jose. And then also, what about Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens? These are two of the greatest players in MLB baseball history, also not in the Hall of Fame due to their connection to steroids. So different ways you can be excluded from the Hall of Fame. Now let's talk about the Hall itself. Since posting an all-time high revenue of $24 million back in 2017, the most recent available statement 2 years later in 2019 saw their revenue fall almost by half to $14 million. Some say that decline can be attributed to the nonprofit's refusal to accept some of the bigger yet tainted names and stars of the game, and surely Pete Rose would agree. Pete Rose, before he died, all he wanted nothing more to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The stats would tell you that he deserved to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But because of the serious allegations tied to his gambling when he was active, he was again banned from that. So this has been a long-running saga since it first happened August 24th, 1989. Since then, Pete Rose has while he was alive, applied multiple times to be reinstated and be let in the Hall of Fame. Every commissioner, including now Commissioner Rob Manfred, denied his application. And so a lot of people after his death are now calling for him to be inducted, saying it was a lifetime ban, and lifetime indicates that you would only be banned for the time that you're alive and not posthumously. Excuse me. Jeez. So how do we need to look at this? Well, we need to look at this, as you know, this is why you come here, for the facts. You come here for the research nuance. You come here for both sides. So thinking about this, shout out Canteen, my brother. I appreciate you, Bottom Line Sports. So looking at this from both sides, look at this from the MLB side. One MLB rule is that if athletes are caught betting on games in which the bettor has a so-called duty to perform, meaning they're actually involved in the game, manager, player, team, bat boy, team washman, the guy that washes the clothes, things like that. Recently, there was an MLB player, Rafael Marcano from the San Francisco Giants, who got banned for placing 387 bets totaling over $150,000 betting on games involving his own team. This is exactly what Pete Rose had done as well. Now, cheating in baseball goes back a long time, as we know, all the way back to the 1919 Black Sox scandals, where they were illegally fixing games. They were throwing games and betting on them and making money. Back in the day, it was the mafia, right? They come out, bow, take out your kneecaps. You know what I mean? Take out your kneecaps real quick, the mafia would, if you ain't giving them money. So this has been a rule for a long time, and there is not really a difference between player, coach. You're not allowed to do it at all. And even though game fixing wasn't even illegal back in 1919, it was obviously still frowned upon, as they were banned from, the sport, including Shoeless Joe Jackson, someone a well-known name. But MLB and gambling has been intertwined for a long time as well. Even when, I didn't know this until I was actually researching this case. Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle were both shortly banned and then later reinstated from baseball for taking PR jobs with casinos. That blew my mind, but they were just trying to be like, kind of like OJ was for Hertz, just a pitch man, things like that. A little PR, public relations job with them, but that was a no-no. And I did not know that those two of the greatest of all time were even banned for that little bit. But you've got to look at it like that, because nowadays, look at it. They're intertwined everywhere. FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN Bet, Caesars, whatever you want, right? These leagues and these gambling entities are intertwined because everybody's making money hand over fist off of the gambling that is being done. So do we need to take a separate, different look at it now that the circumstances have changed? Some would tell you so. I would be one of those people that think things need to be at least re-examined. But when it comes to Pete Rose, it gets a lot deeper than that. Pete Rose is a lot more difficult of a subject to just say, hey, let's let him in, even though he's passed away, because of things that happened when he was still alive. The first and most minor, in my eyes, is that he lied about it. For the first 14 years after he was banned, for the first 14 years, he denied it. He said it didn't happen. He said he didn't do it. And again, in my eyes, the least of the things that he did incorrectly, but still really big to try to lie about it. When you're trying to get back into the Hall of Fame and applying for it, you should have at least admitted it by then. But there's also something else. Back in 2017, Pete Rose was charged with sexual misconduct. Back then, he had engaged in a relationship in 1973, a sexual relationship with a woman identified as Jane Doe because she was underage. She was 14 and or 15. Now, aside from the fact that that's freaking disgusting just to begin with, when you're a grown-ass man and you're a famous baseball player, man, you just can't go get a regular woman. Like, come on, man. Anyways, he admitted to having sex with her, but he said he thought she was 16, Ohio's age of consent. Again, besides the fact it's disgusting, this happened. And he tried to deny having sex with her outside of Ohio, as if that made it any better. Anyways, that's where things start to get a little dicey, as you see. Now, we may be looking at other sides of his character and saying, well, does he belong in the Hall of Fame, where other standards of excellence need to be also debated? I know it is a Hall of Fame. I know it is where you put people for your statistics, but let's be honest, most of the time, character is also taken into account, as it is within the presidential election, which, again, stay tuned. We're going to give you all the facts on the election here in a couple minutes, but just like in the election, right? There is no difference as to how you have to look at things. You have to take everything with a conscious eye, examining exactly what's in front of you. And a lot of times there's skeletons in the closet that are hidden that you have to dig up in order to say, okay, well, is this really okay? So anyways, moving on. Let's move forward to August 7th of 2022. Statute of limitations had expired. Pete Rose is at a Phillies event, Philadelphia Phillies, outside of about 5 years after they had already had to cancel plans to honor him after these allegations came out. The Philadelphia Inquirer's Alex Coffey, who is a woman, asked him about these allegations. He answered with, "No, I'm not here to talk." Quote, "No, I'm not here to talk about that." ... Because it was a longer quote. "It was 55 years ago, comma, babe." Good Lord help me. Lord help me. Sir, if there's a woman asking you about sexual misconduct charges or allegations against you at an event where they're trying to honor you while you are also trying to get put into the Hall of Fame and applying multiple times, maybe you want to leave out the babe. Okay? Also, maybe you don't want to say it's 55 years ago and dismiss it like it's nothing. Just my opinion, but those two things probably did not help his case. Then his autobiography, finally coming out and saying that he did it. But then filing false income returns in 1990. Move on to 2002. We had a secret meeting with Commissioner Bud Selig in a Milwaukee hotel to try to get put back in the Hall of Fame. But then not even about a week later, I believe it was, he followed with an appearance at a Las Vegas sports book. My man, talk about tripping over your own feet. You know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to get in, why are you going to go at a sports book? It couldn't have been anywhere else. A sports book. When you're trying to get in from being banned from gambling. See, so there's many other sides to this story and many bad looks that he had that are also contributing to him not being admitted to the Hall of Fame. So, facts are, can he get in the future? A lot of baseball writers think he should get in now. The only way now that he can get in would either be the Classic Era Committee, which are 16 living Hall of Famers, executive historians, writers, that would have to elect him. By the way, they have an election. Actually, they just announced the candidates today for this year. Luis Tiant, which is one of my favorite players, he was included. Dave Parker, Tommy John, so the person they named the surgery after, he's getting inducted. Dick Allen and Steve Garvey of the Dodgers, may he rest in peace. So they're all going to be elected. Could that happen in the future? Right now, I would say no, because the same voters that have been keeping him out are these same voters that are still intertwined. But that is the older generation. As the newer, younger generation comes in, and the younger voters who may even be more likely to let the steroid era players in, we may see these bigger names that were really, really good start to get in. Because again, these players are Hall of Famers. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, both Hall of Famers before they even started taking steroids. So does that mean they deserve to be in? Again, it depends on how you feel about the amount of grievance that is caused by whatever the issue is that they did, betting versus steroids and what have you. So again, I'm just here to give the facts and present both sides so you can make your own decision. But in my eyes, he is not going to get elected right now, or inducted right now to the Hall of Fame. He could down the line, as I mentioned, when the viewers get in, and probably will eventually, once the older viewers die out and the younger viewers come in. That sounded bad. I didn't want to use that word, but for lack of a better word. And Manfred has kept passing on the buck to the Hall of Fame, so he's not going to do anything. And he said Rose hasn't proven enough anyways to deserve that. So again, is he going to get in? Not now, possibly later. If it were me, would I let him in? I believe if you've given him a lifetime ban and he dies, I believe after that, like, come on, man. Let bygones be bygones. He is the best hitter of all time. So if it were me personally, I have changed my stance. I used to say no, I wouldn't let him in. But now that he's passed away, I do agree, and I think he should be let in. But then you open up a little waterway. Like, where else are you going to go? Are you going to start letting the steroid era players in? I personally am not opposed to it. There's been a lot of things they've done in Major League history, like when they not allowed the Negro leaguers to play or the black Spanish players to play, which inflated a lot of the Caucasian and white player statistics. So, again, size to everything. I would personally let him in now posthumously, but I would not have before, because before he died, he did break the rules. And he broke the rules betting on his own team. He knew what he did. He continued to deny it, and then continued to trip over his own feet by making bad decisions, making himself in the league look worse. So before I wouldn't have, but now that he's passed, I would.